You are listening to the Spiritual Warrior Coach with Barbara Savin, the podcast for discovering how powerful your wisdom, compassion, and courage is. Get ready to join Barbara and her guests as they explore and offer you advice on how to reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And now, here's the host of the show, Barbara Savin.
Thank you for joining me today and welcome. I am Barbara Savin, your spiritual warrior coach, and I am here to help you reclaim your power, your energy, and your authentic self. And for those of you that may not know me, I am a certified clinical and medical hypnotherapist, Reiki master and teacher, energy healing specialist, life coach, and best-selling author of Gentle Energy Touch, The Beginner's Guide to Hands-on Healing. You know, I have been helping my clients for over 35 years, and the older I get, the more wisdom seems to come through. So isn't it time that you believe in yourself? You know, your mind is going to provide you with your greatest challenges in life because it's so very, very powerful. So let's use it for positive thinking, creating harmony, balance, peace, love, happiness, and anything else that your heart desires. Because one day, the world will tap you on your shoulder and say, this is your time to shine. So I'd like to begin my podcast with an inspirational story. And this one is called Everyone Has a Story. You know, a young man in his 20s was seeing out from the train's window and he shouted, "Father, look at the trees. They are going behind us." The young man's father smiled at the man, and a young couple sitting nearby actually looked at the young man's childish comment with pity. And then suddenly the young man shouted again, "Father, look at the clouds. They are all running with us." And the couple just couldn't resist and said to the old man, why don't you take your son to a good doctor?" The old man smiled and said, "We did. And we are just coming from the hospital. You see, my son was blind from birth, and he just got his vision today." So the moral of the story is every person in the world has a story. Don't judge people before you truly know who they are and know about them, because the truth might truly surprise you. So today I have a wonderful person. Her name is Lois Hollis. Hi there. She is an RN, a BSN, REV, and she is a shame, guilt educator, counselor, and filmmaker. And Lois shifts our opinion on one of the most taboo subjects, which is shame and guilt. And as a trailblazer, she actually helped create one of the first kidney hemodialysis units in the United States in 1966. And today, Lois establishes shame guilt as an independent study. And her 50 years experience in health, and she has 15 additional years in research and counseling, bring new knowledge of these misunderstood conditions to release us from that shame, guilt, and blaming situation. And Lois' first film is called Out of Discord into Harmony, and it was released in 2008. And she teaches how to communicate with your inner self. And her new film, I'm Good, makes shame, guilt very visible. And Lois also has written 3 books. And her newest book is Now is the Time. And it gives us her spiritual writings from the dimension of love to help us stop that shame and that guilt. Welcome, Lois, to my show today. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for the opportunity to help people break the bars of that shame guilt, because it doesn't belong to us, even though they tell us it does.
You know, me growing up as a child and excuse me, every now and then, you know, as I got older, got married, you know, sometimes my parents would say, you know, You don't visit every day. It's because of you that I don't feel well, or it's because of you that I did this. It's all that shame, guilt feeling, and it's not about that. I mean, we all have our own journey, our own lives, and I would see my parents at least 2-3 times a week, but every day was impossible. And yeah, it was a little bit of that guilt, that puts us into that shame, feeling. So, you've been doing this for how long now, trying to teach people the difference and why they need
Well,
to get away from it.
yeah, well, I myself was in the shame guilt prison,
Mm.
locked up, and I did not know that. And we all don't know. We just feel not good enough. We feel victim, and we keep hearing in ourselves that you're not good enough, et cetera, et cetera. And we prove ourselves correct. And in my 50s, I fell down with emotional baggage from my childhood because I had an abusive childhood.
Okay.
Even though I accomplished many, many things, it didn't matter what I accomplished. I still felt not good enough.
Mm.
And there are books written about that, how the most accomplished people often feel the worst about self-image. And it's always a dichotomy, but nobody tells you why
Yeah, exactly.
and how. So that's where I was. And I was so lucky and so fortunate to receive information to finally understand that shame guilt was the cause of my depression, was the cause of my anxiety, was the cause of my not good feelings and wanting to commit suicide. And I was so happy that day because I don't have to go to counseling for anxiety. I don't have to go counseling for depression. I don't have to go counseling for not good enough. I mean, I'll be dead before I'm well. I mean, and it's true. It's true. So I started healing by acknowledging the shame guilt within me. And I did that through the interpersonal work that I have on the Out of Discord into Harmony. I would talk to my depression. I would say, hi, how are you? I'm Lois. What is your name? And they would talk back to me. And we had a conversation as if I was the therapist and they were the client, but we were just one and the same. I got tired of talking to therapists. I talked to myself instead. So I'm talking about self-healing that we do anyway. We talk to ourselves all the time. Only I'm identifying who you're talking to and what's the best outcome. So through this measure, I healed. Like I healed physically and emotionally because I was very crippled. And then people came to me and said, what are you doing, Lois? You look younger and happier and healthier. And I said, I'm talking to myself. And they said, can we do it too? And I said, I guess so. So I taught them the same process and they too got well and happy and healthy, and their grandmothers and mothers and cousins came to me and they all had the same response. And they said, you should charge for this. I said, charge for what? I'm helping people talk to themselves. What's the big deal?
Well, it's showing them what they need to do.
Exactly. And it was self-healing. So through those years, I've learned, you know how you learn something after you do it and you go backwards and say, oh, this is how it happened. So that's what I'm doing. It happened and I found the gem, but then I have to go back and say, how did all this happen so I can teach people? Because everybody has to know this.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to share today is what I've learned across the 15 years that I've been doing this.
Now you're a filmmaker, and so have your films showed?
Yes, every Out of Discord into Harmony is me talking with my inner self. And it teaches people how to talk to themselves and the inner critic and how we become friends with our inner critic. We can't be fighting with our critic all the time. We're fighting with ourselves. You know where that's going to go? That's going to go nowhere, right? Nobody's winning. So he's our friend. The only problem we have in life is shame, guilt, energy. That's the only obstacle we have. And so with a little bit of definition, I'm going to help people understand it in a different light. Okay. Pardon, go ahead, Barbara.
Yeah. No, what I was going to say is that, people always, their head, they have so much stuff going on.
And that's shame-built confusion.
Okay.
Okay. Now think of a computer. And what happens when you get a computer virus? What happens to the computer?
Oh my
Don't
God.
even mention it, right?
I won't. I go crazy.
Everything, you go crazy, right? Your
Mhm.
computer goes crazy. Now, if your person next door to you has a virus on the computer, it may not act the same way, like their Microsoft work, but their hard drive doesn't. Your hard drive doesn't work, but your and it's all different and it's crazy. Now, how do you get rid of the virus?
Sometimes
you got to get the virus removal program. It isn't like you talk to it and say, get out of here.
Right.
You got to take it out. So shame guilt is an energy that attacks us, the computer that we are.
Interesting.
See that in a different light. Okay, stay with me, people, because I'm going to explain why it's an energy that affects our emotions. We, as Barbara knows, is an energy healer. Why does she do an energy? Because we are energy. And I'm sure you get results that are phenomenal because you're dealing with the energy. And when you shift the energy, the whole body shifts, the mind shifts, the stomach shifts, the emotions shift, our health, everything shifts. Why? Because we are energy. And our computer is energy as well. So shame guilt is an energy, negative energy, disruptive energy that does not belong to us, doesn't belong to humanity. It was put upon this planet. That's another long story, but all you need to know is shame, guilt, energy does not belong to us. And when it comes into us through, you should have done that better. You're really stupid. I expected more from you. That's shame, guilt, energy, words. Words are like bullets, especially to sensitive people like you and me and most of your clientele. It goes in deeper because we have less physicality. That's the bad news. The good news is it comes out quicker.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so we got bad and good. It can come out easier for people that are sensitive, but it goes in deep and it feels like a bullet. Shame, guilt words are like bullets that go into us. Now, what do? Shame, guilt, energy, you're really stupid. And that energy comes into us because we don't know. We just hear it and it comes into us. It turns our positive emotions to negative emotions. Every emotion has a positive side and a negative side. See, we didn't know that. We thought they're all separate. They're not. Like our passion, which is positive, turns to anger. Our compassion turns to depression.
Interesting.
Our intuition turns to anxiety. So we don't have to go running around finding our intuition, our empathy, and our love and our light. We have it. It's just covered with shame, guilt, energy.
Wow, that's a whole new way of looking at it.
See, that's what I want to do. If we can just do this one thing today, it changes your mind. Now, does it fix everything? No, but we're on the ball field. We're on step number 1. We got out of the prison and saying, I know now that shame, guilt is an energy that affects us. So if it doesn't belong to us, if it's outside of us, we can get rid of it.
Yeah. And
shame, guilt, energy only has one defect. It dissolves in detection.
So explain that then.
Okay, now, I'm sure we all know The Wizard of Oz?
Oh yeah. Oh my
Okay.
God, I've seen that 150 million times.
And you among it, everybody else.
Uh-huh.
Some younger people don't, but anyway, they can go watch the movie. But Dorothy, in her quest to get to the wizard, who was all and powerful, so
Mhm.
that she can find her home again, goes there, and she's scared and terrified. Oh my goodness, I want to see the wizard and he's so big and mighty. She's very frightened. She sees this Tin Man, and she has many people helping her. So she finally gets to the castle or wherever the wizard is, and the wizard is like yelling and prophesizing, and the bigger he talks, the louder he talks, the more frightened she gets.
Mhm.
And little Toto comes along and takes the curtain and moves it
Yes.
away.
I
And what do
remember
we
that.
see? What do
Mhm.
we see? We see a very old man like this, cranking out steam and noise, and a bell horn going, ah, ah, ah. He's got props. That's shame, guilt, energy. It's got a big voice, and it's a nothing.
Wow, that's an incredible way to look at it.
It's a nothing.
Yeah, unless we
It's-
unless we allow it to be.
But we didn't know. We were taught
Yeah.
to be afraid.
Mhm.
How else could you be controlled as a kid? How else could you be controlled as a culture?
Yes.
It's all control, and they needed to control humanity because we are so gifted. We have so many gifts, but the only way to control us is make us feel lesser than.
Mhm. Fill us
And
with
I'm
fear and shame and guilt. Mhm.
So I'm sure that in your practice, you have people that can excel to such high levels, but the only thing that gets them down is like, I'm not good enough. I had a mistake one time and I failed math, or my mother told me I'm not good enough, or the teacher said I'll never make anything. And we hold that in our head.
Yeah, we do.
Of course we do.
Yeah, it's like a little seed that is planted and then it sprouts and becomes huge.
Exactly. But I'm like, choo, I'm deflating it
Mhm.
because it's shame, guilt, energy that's put upon humanity. It's not of the human. It's placed on the human to help humanity devolve. And we have devolved over the decades.
Yeah, we
have gone from, and this is not from a couple of decades, this is like thousands and thousands of years. Humanity used to have 64 triple DNA strands. Now we have 12 to 24, double. So a fully functioning human is clairvoyant, psychic, can materialize things. We have all that, but the shame, guilt, energy has put a cloud over us saying that we can't do that.
We can't.
And since you're in the spiritual, I worked in, when I was in Sedona, I helped a lot of psychic people release the shame that they were carrying through their lifetime, and their channeling became so clear and so purified. Not by doing exercises, by just getting rid of the shame, guilt, energy. So we are fully functioning people. We don't have to go after trying. We just have to get rid of the shame, guilt cover that's covering our abilities.
Wow. So basically, the shame holds people down by just telling them they're not good enough.
Exactly. Now, who does that?
Yeah.
The inner critic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Ourself and outside interference.
Oh, yeah. But our inner critic tells it to us at night, and during the day, we get it from our superiors, authorities, our kids. I mean, we get it from all over the place.
Self-esteem is so low.
Yeah, because we're told we're not good enough.
You're not good enough.
Okay. And therapy or psychologists tell us we need at least 3 positive statements for all negative ones. Some say 4. So I had to make a recording of I'm good and stick it in my ears and listen to it all day, all night, because I was told I'm not good for so many years that I had to offset them. And that's true. That did help.
Well,
really
you know,
did
we
help.
have to do a lot. We need to do a lot of positive thinking. And if a negative thought comes into our mind, we need to delete it like a computer. You know, press the delete key. The more you press that delete
Yes,
key, the more it's
but
going to leave.
that's a help. But if
Mhm.
we could get in touch with the person inside of us who's telling us the negative things, then we hit a home run.
Yeah. So how would someone
So
get in
yeah,
touch with themselves?
yeah. So the inner critic is like, oh, you can't talk to it. You got to kick it out. You have to tell it's no good. And if we were enemies and I kept on hollering at you and you kept on hollering at me, would we ever become friends? No.
Mm-mm.
I would never support you and you would never support me. And this is a person inside of you. So
Mhm.
we have to make friends with the inner critic. Now, the inner critic is living in a different timeline than we are. We're living in 2021.
Mhm.
The inner critic's living in maybe, 1980, 1970. He's living in a different timeline. He doesn't know that you are in 2021. So you're a little baby, you're a little kid. Don't go across the road. Don't ride your bike into the street. Do what your mother says. You can't study that book. You got to go this book first. That's where the inner critic is living. That's all there is. So we have to say, hi, inner critic. And they'll say, I don't talk to you. You're too stupid. And we say, oh, thank you for talking to me. I mean, you're not going to make friends right away because the inner critic's job is to make you small.
Yes.
He only has one job, to make you small. Your job is to make you big.
Right.
I think you need a mediator. So that's what you are. I'm a mediator between my inner self critic who tells me I'm no good and Lois who wants to be big and famous.
So do you think
How
that
can we get along?
well,
Pardon?
do you think the average person can actually do that for themselves?
Of course, you talk to yourself all the time.
Oh yeah.
The
I
inner
do.
critic's talking to you. Why don't you talk back?
Mhm.
Right?
Oh, I do. I always tell them, but what do you mean I can't do this? Of course I can.
Okay, but you got to you can't put them down. You have to say, hi, thank you so much for talking with me. What is one wish that you have? See, they don't think we're worth anything because they're told that we're not.
Mhm.
So it's like this. If you went to France and everybody's talking French, you would say, I can't understand them. They're talking French.
Mhm.
And you're like, well, they're in France, so they should be talking it. I'm telling you that the inner critic has gone to destroy school. So he only knows how to destroy. Okay, that's all he knows. He only has, and you've grown, you've gotten positive, you read books, so you're evolving, and the inner critic is still stuck with destroy. That's his mission. So you got to say, hi, what is your name? And sometimes they say Satan, sometimes they say George, sometimes they'll tell you the name, but you got to ask.
Do you think it's more of an inner guide or your intuition talking to you?
Okay, right now I work with my inner critic who calls himself King. And he still keeps the name King. Now, he and I have made a partnership because I have learned what shame guilt behaviors are. I wrote the book.
Mhm.
So he tested me out and I don't accept that from other people. Okay, I'm not 100%, but I know what shame guilt is and I don't accept it and I just give it back. So he doesn't have to babysit my behaviors anymore. So he needs another job because his job was to babysit and destroy.
Mhm.
Now he's my partner. What he does is he goes around the world trying to find me podcasts to talk on. That's his new job.
Uh-huh.
And it's true because he said, how do you get all these podcasts? I said, because my inner critic has gone around and trying to find them, and I bring them back. So yeah, my intuition is better. My
Yeah.
psychic abilities are better. You can say whatever it is, but he has a new job.
But he has a new job.
And he helps me because he's tired of being the whiplash, the
Right.
slayer, the punisher. He doesn't like that either, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know there's another way.
Right. But do you feel that that inner self or inner critic can actually then heal?
Well, he heals because he doesn't need to use shame and guilt anymore. He's not hurt. He
Right.
doesn't really even need to be
Doesn't wanna
healed.
know
He
it
just needs
anymore.
to change his job.
Mm-hmm. So now he's changed his job to let you know that yes, you can. You know, you don't need that
We
anymore.
don't do that. Okay. Am I 100%? No, but I'm way better than I used to be. And
Mhm.
I take chances much more, and I'm able to do stuff because I have him in my court. Like, like I would talk to you as a friend, like, what do you think I should do? Should we do this or that?
Mhm.
But it doesn't, you're not like, oh, you're too stupid to do that. You'll never make it. You'll be a
Right.
failure. But you don't do that because you know me, that I am accomplished.
Right.
So the inner critic who's living in the world when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, you needed that.
Yeah.
But you're in 2021 and you have to invite him to come into your timeline.
So that
That's how you do
actually
it.
heal from that.
Pardon?
So that you can actually heal from back then.
Well, it's really not even healing. It's just getting rid of the shame, guilt,
Getting rid of it.
energy.
Do you
That's
think-
how you heal. You
Well,
heal
yeah.
by releasing the negative energy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, because it can be really heavy.
Of course. Now, why is shame, guilt, energy feel so heavy and so resistant? The reason is because it's the lowest frequency that a human can embody and still live.
Mm-hmm.
How about that one? Did you ever see Dr. David Hawkins' scale of consciousness?
No.
Dr. Hawkins, who's no longer here, he's in heaven,
Okay.
did gave numbers to joy, enlightenment, kindness, love, light, anger, resentment, hatred, anger, guilt, shame. Enlightenment was 700,000 to the 30th power. Okay, that's where we can go.
Mm-hmm.
Shame is 20.
Yeah, it's the lowest frequency.
It's the lowest frequency that you can have and still be alive. That's why people that are so close to suicide are ashamed.
Yes. Yes.
It's all about shame. That's the lowest frequency that you can have. If you get below that, you're dead.
Well, that's probably why people that sometimes, I mean, it's just an example, with an addiction, they feel so shame that they have that addiction that eventually they end up dying, overdosing.
Exactly, because there's nothing left beyond shame. That's how dangerous it is. And as you, as an energy healer, you know that a dense energy is heavy.
Yeah.
Is heavy. And
Very
and that's
heavy.
why depression, you feel like, oh, I'm carrying bricks, because the shame is so heavy.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with its mighty power. It's just dense.
And they feel very numb.
Shame
Yeah.
stops feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any feeling
They don't
because
have
it
any
covers it
feelings.
up.
Do they
It's
feel,
all
does it
it's all
also like
shame.
cover up like emotions?
It covers all
Everything.
emotions.
Okay.
I mean, it's what do you call this? The annihilator.
Mm-hmm.
If you can think of atomic bomb coming in,
Mm-hmm.
that's shame, guilt, energy. It distorts your energy. So therefore it turns your positive emotions to negative. It makes your mind confused because it distorts the nerve fibers. And I think you can understand that because you're doing energy healing.
Mm-hmm.
Your energy is distorted, so you're not thinking properly.
Right.
It distorts your physical organs as well. They become weakened, so therefore they're more subjected to illness. And they stop our talking to our spiritual side, because it's like God has a walkie-talkie and you have a walkie-talkie, and the shame guilt energy is the interference, like static on the line. And that's why people in such shame commit suicide, because they lost access to talk to God.
To talk to God.
It's so sad.
It's very sad. And the thing is, probably most people don't even understand this.
Well, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And say, hey, it's shame guilt energy. Now, the book I have, Now Is the Time, was given to me through writings from Spirit. And if people can read those words when they're in that state, it can help. Of course, you need other people to help you, but that's why I make that book accessible so that people can use it and read it often and print it out. I have it as a download, but it's better to read the papers than read on the computer. It has a better energy.
Oh, so they can just download it?
They can just download it from my computer and then print it out.
Oh, interesting. All right. So what is the, well, why don't you say your website?
Is loishollis.com. That's LOISHOLLIS.com.
Okay. And there they can go and get this book. So
and
this
it's on the
book will help them.
homepage.
Okay.
It's on the homepage. It's 30 pages. It's printed out. And if you want the book, just send me an email and I'll mail it out to you. It's free, but you have to pay for postage.
Well, yeah, for postage. So,
yeah,
do you feel most people have gotten away from God or spirit because they
well, we have progressively got more shame guilt upon us. So therefore, that's true. It's just a matter of how much mud can you put on yourself that you can't see anymore. Okay, I mean, that's it. Now, there's many therapies out there that are wonderful, crystal healing and talking and positive thinking, and we have so much. People are trying everything, and I'm saying that all these are great, but if you don't add the shame guilt energy work, it's not going to bring you home, and that's why people get depressed. I spent $30,000 on a course. I spent $10,000 a course. I spent 6 months in therapy. I spent 2 years in therapy, and I'm still like, how bad am I?
Because they're still holding on to all that other stuff.
Because it all helps, but it doesn't bring you home. You got to get rid of the shame guilt energy. Now, I can compare this to what happens if you have a leak in your house. After it rains, you're mopping the floor up, right? And the bucket, I think everybody's had a leak in their house, and you're always cleaning it up. Okay, there comes another rain and we got to mop the floor up and everything. And you're always going to get a leaky house of water until you fix the leak, the hole in your roof. Okay, shame guilt is the hole in the roof. And until you get rid of that hole and close it up, you're not going to get the results that you want.
That you need. So do you feel that most people that have that shame and guilt, that
well, we all have it.
Well,
we all have it.
Well, we all have it. That they are, because they have it so bad, the shame and guilt, that's why they're angry. At others.
Of course, all negative emotions are the result of shame, guilt, energy. Remember what I said, it turns everything positive to negative. It's not selective.
Right.
Everything goes down, like your computer.
So when people get like really angry, is it because of the
shame, guilt, energy fueling it?
Okay.
It's like throwing a match on gasoline. It doesn't work well.
No, it doesn't.
Now, what is interesting, if people are driving, don't do this exercise. But if you're at home and you got a piece of paper, I'd like to show you something. Okay. Now, write down the word hurt, H-U-R-T. You get hurt when someone does something like they take your lollipop away or your candy as a kid. So, I mean, that's a little shameful, but, it's just a hurt thing.
Mhm.
Now, the hurt thing keeps happening. And then you get anxious because, oh my goodness, someone's going to steal it. Someone's going to steal it.
Exactly.
But this progression is just that there's more shame, guilt, and they label it anxiety, but it's still shame, guilt. And then after a while, you get really anxious, and then you're like, I'm mad. I don't like this. This is terrible. These people are miserable. I'm angry. Okay, so it's another level of shame, guilt.
Shame, guilt. So it actually elevates.
Of course, but psychology calls it different behaviors. When it's just shame, guilt getting stronger, more mud thrown on you.
So do you think that most people are very stressed and filled with anxiety because of all this?
Of course, anger, anxiety. Okay, so after you're really angry and you're angry and you're angry for years, what happens? You get depressed.
You get depressed, yeah.
And that's interesting
Lousy.
because they say when depressed people get angry, that's a step up. Well, you're right. But it's just more shame, guilt, and they give it the word depression.
And then they give them medication. And
Exactly.
yeah, and the medication hides those feelings.
So after depression, oh, I'm sorry, I missed the beat. After the anger, they get hatred. They hate the world for everything. I know that when I was there once. I hated the world for wronging me. And I don't think that's too uncommon. So that means it's just more than anger. I got hatred. And then after the hatred comes depression. And then after depression goes fear. Fear is just the ultimate shame, guilt energy that's consuming you. Fear is shame, guilt energy at such a high level that you can't think. You're in total confusion.
Yeah, and you stay stuck in that. Do you feel that that's also, does that contribute to people being jealous of others?
Yeah, of course. All negative feelings are shame, guilt based. All. And that's why people go to therapy for years and years and years. They have different symptoms, but all of them are just shame, guilt energy. So I'm like, can you just get rid of the shame, guilt energy with your in you, and then you'll just turn everything positive? Like, well, so that's why I can help people very quickly, because we get rid of the hole in the roof.
What is like a step that you would give somebody to get rid of something like this?
Okay, first
I know it'll take time. Definitely would. Yeah.
But not as far as therapies. I mean, I can help people in 2 or 3 sessions that they've been in therapy for 10, 20 years. It's sad. But anyway, and therapy does have its place, but it doesn't bring you home. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring you all the way home. And then you just ruminate over it year and year and year and year, and you're not going anywhere. In fact, it's more shameful.
No, you're talking about the same thing over and over again. And it's really not, it's on an energetic level, you actually don't release it.
Exactly, because you just don't know. So that's my job. I'm telling people to incorporate shame, guilt energy into your modalities, because they'll never bring healing. You'll never come home.
So do you teach therapists?
When they want to. Some of them don't particularly like it because they get well so quick, but that's another story. I teach anybody that wants to learn. Anyway, so shame, guilt energy is the reason that we get stuck, is the reason we're in depression. Procrastination is shame, guilt. Bullying, shame, guilt. The DSMO has 918 pages of psychological situations, and they're all shame, guilt based. Everything you can think of is shame, guilt based.
So why is
overachieving, underachieving, bulimia, all food disorders, all food anorexia, everything is shame, guilt, everything. And that's why I couldn't believe that someone just said, hello, let's just take shame, guilt, energy as an independent study and not spend years in depression, years in anxiety, years in procrastination, because you'll be dead before you get well.
Well, yeah. So I wonder why no one, well, you've done it, but not many people talk about this at all.
Nobody does. That's why for
No.
15 years I've been doing this, and only since COVID, they're like, oh, let's talk about this, because everybody's talking about it. I was invited to so many seminars. They said, you can talk about any topic, happiness and joy and love and companionship and all that, but you can't mention the word shame and guilt. We don't talk about it because it doesn't exist. I go, oh my God.
They were actually afraid. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So that's why I appreciate your time in allowing me to talk. Now, I have people that call me and they said, I must be so bad. I don't think you can take me as a client, because I've been in therapy for depression for 5 years and I can't get anywhere and I can't get rid of the guilt. And I said, I'm telling you right now, you will never, ever get rid of the guilt you're carrying. Never, ever, ever, ever. I don't care how many courses you take, how much money you take, how many magicians you go to. You can only release the guilt when you release the shame that's causing the guilt. And that's it. That's the story. So they felt very relieved, and not that they're crazy.
Do you find it's more in certain religions than others?
All religions have it. All governments have it. You don't have to be Jewish to get shame guilt. you don't have to be Polish. You don't have to be German. You don't have to be Italian. It's in everything, in everybody. You can't blame your mother. You can't blame the Pope. You can't blame the priest. You can't blame the governor or the president. You can't blame any. You can only blame shame, guilt, energy. So this takeaway today is to help you just to come to the conclusion: shame, guilt, the feelings of depression, the feelings of anxiety, all those feelings stem from shame, guilt, energy. And you can get rid of it by knowing that it exists. That's the first step. You say, no, shame, guilt, energy is not of me. Then you can talk to your emotions. Hi, depression. Hi, anxiety. Thank you so much for coming to talk to me. Because when you feel depression is trying to get in touch with you. We don't tap it away. We talk to it. We talk to our inner critic. And my film, Out of Discord into Harmony, on my website and YouTube channel, teaches you how to do that.
So is it, all right, so it's on YouTube. Okay.
Yes. Out of Discord into Harmony.
Okay.
Now you'll get an insight of how interesting it is, but I have groups that I work with, and I teach you how to do this so that in a few months you can do it yourself. It's like a self-help remedy that you can use over and over and over again.
And it gets results. Which a lot of sometimes therapies, some of them work, some of them do not work.
Well, it depends. If you address the shame, guilt, energy, but nobody is talking like Lois is talking. And it's because God gave it to me, and that's my job.
To bring it to the forefront. I know when I sit with some clients, I can actually feel that they're guilty about something. And that, and then we talk about it, and I tell them, it's time to sever those cords, because
but you just can't do that. You have to go find it to get rid of it.
Because
remember, shame, guilt dissolves in detection. We all know we shouldn't feel guilty. We all know that we're not stupid, but until we get in touch with our inner critic and release the shame, guilt that he or she is giving us, we're not going to get over it. We may feel good for a week or two or a couple of days, but it will come right back because the inner critic has not changed.
Now, I know this is probably just a question out there. What about like people that kill people? And
well, sometimes I believe that the shame, guilt gets so bad that they're mentally ill. Okay. I mean, shame, guilt makes you mentally ill. to that degree.
To that degree. So because of that, you feel they take that
Well, the shame guilt makes
another
their brain not
level.
work properly,
Mhm.
right? It makes you confused. So shame guilt, it depends on how much you're carrying. And that's why people go down in the middle ages, because they never got rid of the shame guilt from their childhood, and it all falls down. They call it midlife crisis. It's just not it's a midlife shame guilt crisis,
Mhm.
because we can only carry so much until we fall down.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people blame their parents or blame somebody.
Well,
you
yeah,
know.
well, they have to blame somebody. So I'm just
Mhm.
telling you, it's not your parents' fault. It's not your fault. It's shame guilt energy.
And even though a
That's
parent may have made you really feel bad about yourself,
yeah, but it's not their fault because their parents shamed them.
which is usually the case, that's all they
It's
know.
generational. We all shame each other. It's like, get over it. That's what we do. But there's a solution. There's a way out by saying, okay, shame guilt doesn't, the buck stops here. And the interesting thing is, since you're a spiritual teacher, once you remove the shame guilt energy that you're carrying, it helps to release it from your generation line, your mother, your grandmother, etc., even if they have died or passed away.
Oh yeah, no, I know that because many a times I know it's from other generations. So it's either sometimes it's a gift to me, not the shame.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah.
gift in a different way, or it's not, or it's something to bring me down because they've been through stuff. So
yeah,
it's to try to understand where it's actually coming from so that I'm able to release it.
So when you release the shame you're carrying, it's related to your mother's that she was carrying, or your grandmother, or your priest, or whoever, but it's generational. That you release it, you actually see it and take it and throw it away. Like you just can't manage, let it all go away. No, that doesn't work. It's a physical thing that you have to see it, and it dissolves and it goes. And your upline can heal as well, which is really quite amazing, isn't it? And also you can help your kids by releasing the shame guilt that you gave them. And you don't do it deliberately. You just do it because that's how we all do things.
So what we know.
So when I did that for my kids, they all got promotions in their job within a couple of months.
So
it does work.
Help them with that. Then.
I help them because I gave it to them. I should be able to get rid of it for them, right? Yeah. That's how I feel.
And the way you felt is, did you know what it was that actually caused it?
Yes.
Okay.
You get very intuitive, and you figure it out. And it's really not that hard. It's just a matter of seeing it, getting rid of it. And that's what I teach. And once you learn how to do it, you keep doing it.
Until you get clear.
Until you get clear, then you get healthier, then you get younger, you get happier.
Do you think in this lifetime, I know you're what, 77? Okay, I'll be 73 next week. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So do you think in this lifetime?
Of course, you can do that. Yes, of course. You will learn how to do it. I'll teach you, and the interesting thing about shame guilt, I call it the shame guilt scar. The first time you received shame guilt in your lifetime, if you can find that once you get rid of that, every other shame guilt experience that came from that dissolves, like the house of cards.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So it is very quick healing.
Do you think it's a different level of each one, or it's all combined?
What do you mean? Like, it's all combined. It all is the same energy. And once you get rid of the core energy, what happens? It leaves.
Yeah, it leaves.
It goes.
We heal.
So that's what I call quantum healing. You don't have to go to every episode in your life. Just find one and you release that, and then it's like a miracle.
Well, I know for myself, during the course of my 73 years now, I've released a lot of it, because I've seen where it was from.
Okay.
And some of it definitely, like what you mentioned, yes, was from my mother, my father, my grandparents, and even probably, their grandparents and their children. And I actually said, all right, I need to clear this, because if I don't in this lifetime, I'm going to still hold on to that generational energy.
Exactly. And I believe shame guilt energy is karma.
Mm-hmm. So some is very good,
Yeah, but the karma that people think of usually is the karma. Well, it's the shame guilt energy that you're carrying from one lifetime to the next. So yeah, let's just get rid of this.
Yeah, so we can finally be happy and healthy
and excel into who we really are. And that's the only thing that's holding us back. Not that we didn't meditate enough, not that we didn't study enough, not that we didn't talk to God enough. It needs, shame guilt energy needs to be released from our being.
It's funny that you mentioned, because I find now in my later years, actually things are really changing for me, and I'm seeing myself actually more open, more things are actually manifesting
yes, because shame guilt energy stops the manifestation process. It stops everything. And it's hard to believe that one thing is that
powerful. Yeah.
But it's also that easy, because it dissolves in detection. And that's why people haven't talked about it. It's been kept under the rug, et cetera, et cetera. Because that's its only defect, is that it dissolves in detection.
So what I'm going to do is actually put your links to your films on the YouTube, on everywhere, because I feel people really need to hear this.
Yes, and I sent you the call to action sheet, and it has all the links there for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Okay, so that should cover everything. And I'm available for phone calls. Just give me a call and I'll talk to people, because this is something new. And a lot of people want to do session with me, and they want to get me know me first. And I understand that. So they can call me and we can talk, and then we can do what we want to do.
Yeah. Well, when they feel comfortable with you, then they can open up more. And
yes, of course. So that's why the first step is to look at some of my work and get familiar, because shame guilt makes us all, but we all have it.
Yes, my mother held on to a lot of it, and ended up getting Alzheimer's, and my father, ended up with dementia. And when I really look at the greater picture, I could see it. It was all them feeling guilty and shameful and fearful. And I say, I ain't going there.
Okay, now the part when you see my film Out of Discord into Harmony, and you see the kids inside of us, they can only hold on so long, and then they collapse, because they can't hold this shame guilt energy from you. That's what their function is. They hold it from you. And when they collapse, I believe that's the beginning of Alzheimer's. And so you're right. Okay, it's nutrition and health and all that other things, but it has a big deal with emotions. And if you cover your emotions, they actually stop working and you get dementia.
That's exactly what happened to both my parents.
And I believe that. Yeah. I believe it.
And I tried helping them, but they didn't want help. No. But that was their journey, that I had to not take it personal. I had to say, all right, that was their choice if they didn't want help.
Everybody has their own time clock. Everybody has their own alarm clock that sounds like, oh, I got to do something. And some people, it's the next lifetime. A lot of people don't want to be living now. I mean, it's crazy, right?
Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy world right now.
It's a crazy world. So a lot of people said, I'll come back another time. So we have to honor that.
Well, that's it. And I've seen actually a lot of people leaving lately, going to heaven. And and it's an unusual amount of people. And it's not just very elderly. It's also the younger.
Yes. Yes. So that's between them and God.
Oh yeah, when
That's
the
all we
soul's
can
ready
say.
to leave, it's gonna leave.
It's up to God, and all I can teach is what I teach, and that's
Mhm.
it.
Which is very extremely helpful, and more people need to really understand this so that they can heal and be successful and
We
everything
need
else.
success.
Yeah.
We desperately need people successful now,
Mhm.
and we need creative people.
Yes.
We need to be all that we can be.
Yeah.
So
More
go on
awakening.
my website,
Yes.
loishollis.com, and have fun.
Yeah. So it's Lois and HOLLIS.
Correct.com.
Okay, LoisHollis.com. I mean, all that information is going to be at the end of this podcast. Lois, I thank you so much for coming. And it's amazing how I just found you. And
That's my inner critic.
I
My
know.
inner critic is working.
It sure did, because I looked at you and I said, I have to have this lady on my podcast. And here you are. And it was very quick that it happened. So
That's the inner critic. I
yes.
tell you, he has a new job.
Yes, it sure does.
So it works.
And I'm thankful for it. So again, give out your website.
LoisHollis.com.
Thank you so
And
much.
have my phone number there as well. Blessings to everybody. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And again, thank you for listening to my show today. And thank you so much, Lois Hollis, for being a guest, because boy, you really enlightened me also. So I would like to leave my listeners with these empowering words. My purpose is to actually help you overcome your challenges and to encourage healing and your success. So nurture and honor your dreams and desires so that you're able to manifest them. You cannot build a story of success if you give up. The world is full of people who gave up, and the world needs hope. So stand up and fight through those challenging moments and allow yourself to shine through the dark times and to be the difference in an indifferent world. So trust and believe in yourself. And I hope you enjoyed this podcast today and enjoyed listening to Lois Hollis and all the information on shame and guilt, because it's very, very valuable. So please look her up and book a session with her and read her information and watch her films. They're very, very enlightening. So, and all that information will be at the end of this podcast. So please visit me at motivateyourlife.net. And visit my YouTube channel, Barbara Savin. I have a lot of grounding meditation, sleep, relaxation, and so much more. And please, subscribe to my new podcast, the Spiritual Warrior Coach Podcast. So again, I'd love to hear from you. Email me at barbaraesavin@aol.com. Visit my website, motivateyourlife.net. And have a beautiful, beautiful week filled with love and with light. Love, Barbara. And thank you, Lois, so much for being a guest today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye.